Now, the governor of the SA Reserve Bank, Mr. Kganyago, just came and issued a warning about South Africa, right? I mean, he's basing this off the fact that the budget speech was postponed, which that came as a shock to investors. And the second thing he's talking about is the tariffs that the US threatens to impose onto steel, aluminium, and cars, which this, he said, it is going to hurt our economy in a nutshell. He also talked about the US Treasury Secretary not making it to last week, of course, G20 foreign premier meeting, which took place on Thursday and Friday. He talks about that, and he said all these things will have or can have an impact into our economy, because if the US is to impose tariffs, which I think, if my memory serves me well, it's around 20 to 25%, it will bring a huge impact into South Africa's economy, right? And these tensions that are still in South Africa, though our president said that he had a conversation with Trump, they are still there. They've not faded away. We are not even sure that President Trump is going to come and attend the G20 summit taking place here in South Africa on the 22nd and the 23rd of November. So all these uncertainties is resulting in the governor of the South African Reserve Bank, Mr. Kganyago, to issue a warning or to warn us of what might take place. I mean, you will know that tariffs pose a risk to inflation. Tariffs are not good because what they do is that, obviously, if we pose a tariff onto US or some of the goods that the US supply, it is going to, of course, stimulate the pressure, or it's going to bring a huge demand into the local products that are similar to those that US brings to South Africa, right? And that, as a result, you know that the more the demand, the higher the prices of those products will go up. So it has a risk of spiking inflation, which with inflation, we know that interest rates, if inflation is rising, interest rates will either rise or will not drop anymore, which is something that is not good. Another threat to the economy, which we discussed yesterday, is load shedding, right? With load shedding, you know that businesses that operate in South Africa gets to be affected by this. They have to come with mitigation measures, which those mitigation measures also end up them factoring those mitigation measures on their products, and they end up escalating, because even where this food is being produced, remember, they are using petrol, they are using oil, and they are using electricity, and going and seek for alternative technology or alternative solution to produce this can stimulate, of course, or can increase the prices of the products that we use on a day-to-day. So load shedding is not good, because it costs companies that we invest in, or companies that are in South Africa, to end up losing millions and millions trying to find mitigation ways to curb or try to mitigate as much as possible the impact of load shedding into their business. So that's another thing. And Mr. Kganyago said some of these things we need to be cognizant of. But he also gave some recommendation for South Africa. He said South Africa should start having a lot of savings, right? So the government must make sure that South Africa is having a lot of savings to try to mitigate some of these things that could come to South Africa. Meaning that they should have savings for, of course, things like the PEFAR aid. If we don't get that anymore, South African government will need to, of course, would need to come in with more money and inject to try to cover the gap which the US was funding to that PEFAR aid. And this is very important, that we must always have money somewhere. The government needs to have money being saved somewhere in case of rainy days. Like you and me having money or savings account or savings somewhere, it is important that the government at this time, they have that. This is what the governor, Mr. Kganyago, was saying, to say that they need to have a buffer, which is the savings which we are talking about. So with this, the only mitigation measure that we can try to have, as he is saying, is that we need money. Now the question is, does South Africa have money? If savings are there, how much are they? Can they cover what's coming But obviously I don't think we have, even if we do, we have that much, because the governor was not going to talk about us saving if we had enough, right? He was going to say we will cover with what we have. But the fact that we have been seeing, even last week, VAT about to be increased to 2%, it tells you that government does not have money. Government, of course, has not saved that much, even if they are savings, right? And therefore there needs to be other ways where the government can generate money to start piling, to start staking somewhere, because what is coming, or what might come, especially from the threats coming from the United States of America, it might have a huge impact into our economy, which is something that will not be good at all. And if it finds us not ready, then I'm telling you, it's going to be chaos. So it's important that what he is saying, the governor of the SA Reserve Bank, we take into cognizance, because of course he knows what he's talking about, and obviously these things are important. Otherwise we need to try to mend our relationship with the US. We need to try to engage with the US and try to find solutions, because we cannot risk to lose deals like AGOA. We cannot risk to get massive tariffs coming from the US, which will impact us, which, by the way, those steel, aluminium and cars tariffs that are coming, it's not only to South Africa, but countries like China are going to get the same tariff, and Mexico and Canada and others, right? They are going to get that tariff, which is something that is not good at all, right? It's going to not only have an impact in terms of inflation or spiking inflation into our countries, but a lot of countries are going to be affected, because guess what? If our exports are hit with that much of tariff, it means that we can't be able to do business, which will slow down our economy, right? Because our steel, our aluminium will be quite expensive in the US, which is something that is not good, something that obviously, like I said, we need to make sure that we try to do whatever we can to make sure that we are ready. If we are not mending the relationship with the US, we save as much as we can, try to find mitigation measures against what might come. PEFA aid, it's already frozen. We have already been sanctioned, but we don't know what will come next. But hopefully things get better than worse in the future, right? We hope for the best, and hopefully things get better with time. Interest rates was dropped to 7.5%, prime lending to 7.5%. This is the how much the banks will borrow money from the Reserve Bank, and ours, I think it's around 11%, right? So interest rates currently are currently coming down, which is a good thing, because this shows that inflation-wise we are headed in the right way. But these are things that we must take into cognizance of, because some of these things that could happen will spike inflation and will be back to square one, where the central bank or the SA Reserve Bank does not have any choice but to increase interest rates again, which won't be good at all. So these are the latest developments. I thought I'd come and give them to you. Tell me what you think about this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell, so that at least to get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. I'll see you on the next one, and God bless you all.